Okay. Peace, family. My name is Aubrey Muhammad, and I'd like to thank you for joining us for week 2 of my campaign for mayor of the Village of Hempstead, my Facebook Live stream. Now, this week we'll be covering community development, and if you have any questions, please feel free to chime in to let me know what's on your mind. Because basically, when I say community development, I'm speaking of the maintenance, enhancement, and investment in the future of the residents of the Village of Hempstead, the current residents. Because there is a development plan, a master development agreement by Renaissance Downtowns that have broke ground December 13th. It's a huge project. Matter of fact, it's too huge. It's very urban, has a city feel to it. And it's mainly designed for others to come into the community for their comfort, for their luxury. And we are told that the benefits, we're supposed to have fringe benefits. Now that's 3,400 luxury apartment units. What they say right on their website is for millennials. Now millennials, we know, is coded language. People are always using coded language when they're dealing with Black America. Millennials mainly mean wealthy white college graduates starting out in life, working up on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, Harlem, and Brooklyn, which have been gentrified, in these new locations, and then coming off the train, coming back to live in Hempstead, and basically not contributing much. But this is the hype. The hype is that these millennials who aren't contributing now, when they move here, they're going to contribute to the village in which we're in, that will benefit us. Now there's a problem with that. 3,400 millennials, supposed to be graduates from Hofstra, Adelphi, and Malloy, having a future, coming into a village that they don't contribute now. They're already students. They aren't contributing anything now. The Hofstra students, unfortunately, well, this relationship must change. We have to change the relationship. I'm willing to work with them to change this relationship. They come in partying at the bars, at the peripheral of the village by the college, and they're spending money in those restaurants. We don't own those bars and restaurants, and it's a nuisance. It's literally a nuisance, and it's an insult that you're that young, celebrating what? You're just starting in life. They're in school, haven't accomplished anything, and partying like it's in a destructive sense, really. And that carnival atmosphere, that's the relationship they have with us. Now we're expecting that they will bring that spirit into a suffering village, concentrated poverty, overcrowding, blight, zombie homes. I mean, please. Now this development plan is a problem because it's too urban, and it was never considered by the residents anyway. They had one board meeting, it was last minute, but they never brought it to a big public forum of the citizens, like a Kennedy Park, and then present what should have been presented was different models, 3 different models, one industrial with factories, one with to take advantage. We are the Village of Hempstead. We are the heart, literally, of Nassau County. The Village of Hempstead is the hub of Nassau County. We have main arteries going through from out of us. It's a transit hub, and it has the potential for an industrial hub. Well, these scenarios and models should be presented to the residents first. Let's have 3 different ones, and let us decide. Let's do an assessment to see which one will benefit us. We need a lot of technical training, really. We need retraining and restoration, not investment in outsiders, and then we subsidize it through shouldering the tax burden that it creates. It didn't get vetting from the residents, so it has to be renegotiated. And a problem with this development is the pilots that they're striving to get for. They already promised them tax breaks. It's like 17 million the first 10-year contract, and then they're looking for 20 to get 33 million tax breaks, and he's looking now to get pilots. This is 32 acres of prime real estate in the center of the Village of Hempstead. Now, we're already suffering from 26 pilots. Pilots are payment in lieu of taxes and tax credits to like apartment buildings, some businesses. The purpose of those pilots are to stimulate the economy or economic activity, and to have job creation. And if you're creating jobs, plenty of jobs, not just a couple of jobs, and the scope of the size of your business, which I'll deal with when I'm dealing with the third part of this presentation, the purpose of taxes in the community. The second part will be gentrification, of which I will segue into dealing with the purpose of this plan. This is not just the developers and investors. It's investors, RXR, their headquarters is right over here. Those two shiny buildings, the old EAB buildings, across from Nassau Coliseum on the Starbucks side, that's an RXR building. We don't work in it, you work in it? Do we have premium jobs? You know, ask yourself. Are we being fulfilled at these jobs? Are we getting self-realization? I'll let you answer that question, because you never think of us. I'm just looking to see if anyone have any questions. A moment. Now, they aren't contributing now. What they're doing now, they'll do in the future. They've proven themselves. And the problem with them offering temporary jobs, see, this was the incentive carrot they gave. They said, well, all these tax credits and pilots will go along, but it'll be offset by the promises of jobs. They keep throwing in that promise. As a matter of fact, they can't even say jobs in the description. They must say job years, because it's temporary construction jobs. We are literally building, digging our own grave. That carrot incentive they have wiggled in our face mainly is a poison carrot. Because once we build this big city-like structure in the middle of Hempstead, we won't be there to enjoy it. They said, well, we have reserved some adjustable income housing for you, affordable housing. You'll get a small percentage of that. That's with a 10-year contract. That's not a guarantee. It's not long range. There's nothing long range here for us. It's a burden, actually by design, to gentrify us. Now, the building is basically done off tax credit. That's mainly, we're not interactive right now. We're not involved in the investment part or the long range part. Those tax credits are issued by banks. They're like bonds. They mature in 15 years. They can accelerate them and redeem them in 10 years from the groundbreaking. That means 2027, December 13th, they're no longer a tax haven for the investors. We aren't invested in those. There's no black bank or community-based bank issuing these bonds. We aren't involved in anywhere. They never consulted us. The residents, they just stuck with a few favored people, and people they've obviously paid off. It's absurd. And we're just, they jingle that carrot in our face saying, well, you get job years. And literally, they have to say years. They actually know the permanent job, and they promise thousands of permanent jobs. Yeah, thousands of job openings in Nassau County now. They aren't hiring us. Not at any premium jobs anyway, that we can buy a house and build the future. Excuse me one moment, please. That's what I like to segue into now from this, the purpose. See, the planners of this is they're planning gentrification. That's mainly relocating us. That's mainly keeping Black America nomadic, to keep us off balance. Now, this development, which we don't have a part, they have incentive, they have a few, it looks like carrot incentives for us with the temporary jobs, no permanent jobs, no careers. We don't have careers within that. They're mainly unstabilizing us at the moment. And this is the final blow. And actually now on part two, check any questions for y'all before I go to part two. Okay, looks good. And I hope this, or if this, family, if you can't hear the audio well, please chime in, let me know. Because I've been having issues. I've stood before this camera a couple of times. Okay, so basically there are no benefits for the residents of Hempstead. Jacqueline Kirby, I can answer that before I go into gentrification. And Isis says, greetings Aubrey, you're on. Fine, perfect, excellent. Jacqueline Kirby says. So basically there are no benefits. There are, but it's Jacqueline Kirby. The benefits, like I just said, the carrot, I gave you an analogy with the carrot incentives. They make it look like we're getting jobs. They literally have to call it job years because it's contractors. You come in, you build this city-like structure. It's 32 acres, 40 buildings. He could ask for up to 40 pilots, which I'm going to deal with later at the last segment. That's about the purpose of taxes and when we don't contribute. Now, these jobs, once you build a structure just like Metro 303, we had plenty of jobs there. We built it. Now, we aren't there. They claim to have 18 jobs. That's good for that structure, but they're promising thousands of jobs. RXR is sitting right there. We're not up in there working. They don't contribute. These are the investors. They gentrified Harlem and Brooklyn, and now they're aiming at us. We don't have the job. I've been in Harlem since the late 80s. I watched the face of Harlem change. Right next to the mosque in Harlem, 127th Street. Caucasians on the block. And they don't contribute too much to black people in the community. Now, we accept them in. We don't have a problem with them. But let me get to the benefits. The benefits in no way measure up to the detriment of us, which is moving us out. We hundreds of families have already moved out of the village. We celebrating Hempstead Day down in Atlanta and Maryland. I mean, please, it's absurd. I mean, it's just I personally have been working in the community with families for our youth. Give an example, dealing with a house that's had a daycare, plenty of children, brother not there to help with the children. For whatever, I won't describe these people's scenario. I won't name them because everyone knows that we need to help each other. And I never would slight anyone. And I'm working with a brother on the block, work with many people in the community. That's what I do. I'm a community activist. With these youth, helping the youth. He contributes here. So another neighbor gives toys, another gives a computer. Others, we sacrifice the time to take them. The youth, they unguided. We need to help. And this brother in particular, he just gave up. Closed his business in Hempstead, sold his house, and moved to a lower tax bracket because the problem with these pilots and tax breaks for these big buildings, these big businesses, is they don't contribute. They only pay a little. They say, well, it's payment in lieu of taxes, so the future benefits will make up for those taxes. But we're waiting on future promises. Now, we can trust and throw the promises of developers and investors as far as their last ones. They never keep their promises. We can never go by promises of developers in the village. Now, so Jacqueline Kirby, there are some benefits for a few. People have been paid, obviously been paid off under the table and promised favors for a few, but most of us are taxed out. You see all these zombie homes, people moved out. They couldn't take it. Why do you think people are renting extra, cutting up their houses, renting, or spacing out, compartmentalizing their houses to rent out basements and making two-family homes because of the ridiculous taxes? Some people in Hempstead are paying $1,000 to $2,000 a month in taxes. That's absurd. Now, let me go into gentrification. Okay, so there are some benefits, but this actual development, those benefits are a carrot, or an incentive carrot, and it's poison. Because the full development, the long range, the contract expires in 10 years. Those tax credits will expire. They will no longer, that affordable housing we get in that, I think it's 20%, could possibly be 40% they would try to trick us with. Once those tax credits expire, it's no longer tax haven. That's why investors you see in Garden City and other areas who invest in tax credits, those tax credits are so valuable of a tax haven, investors are paying more than $1 for them. $1 tax credit that they use to fund this development, it's like a bond. Once that cash that they get from that bond, which they get dividends and they cash in at the end of the maturity, then it's no longer a tax haven. So what do you think they'll do for us? You think they're so concerned about us? They're going to make them condominiums and co-ops. We won't be there. We'll be there for 10 years, maybe. But they want to change the face of Hempstead. And that's the insult, is they want us to carry the burden. They want us to shoulder those taxes. Now let me deal with gentrification. Let me prove my point. Gentrification is nothing new. Gentrification Okay. Oh, I understand now. Thank you. Oh, well, Jackie, I'm glad I answered your question. Let me elaborate on this gentrification. And when I'm going into gentrification, this will just be an overview because it's deep. Excuse me one moment. Yes, gentrification at the turn of the century, the 20th century, the early 1900s, this country was hijacked basically by international bankers, the Rothschilds, Rockefellers. They literally hijacked this government. They found a few organizations were founded in 1913. The Federal Reserve, which is private banks, the FBI, and the ADL, and the Ku Klux Klan. No accident, they were all formed around the same time. What was happening at that time? We were prospering. We built over 50 independent black towns across the country. We didn't want to live near white people. Caucasian people were hell on 2 feet for us. They never accepted us. It was awful living there. You expect to live near them? At the turn of the century, we built all black towns. The biggest one, the most famous one that some of us know, which we all should be taught in school, was Black Wall Street, T-Town, Tulsa, Oklahoma. The independent black town had all black infrastructure, everything. It was independent. You remember the movie Rosewood that John Singleton made? That was in Florida. That was an all black town, prosperous. The whites around us were envious. This is why the Ku Klux Klan was formed by the secret government. A terrorist organization formed a secret government program to run us, to raise those towns. Tulsa, Oklahoma was the first American city bombed from the air by the United States Marines, or the Air Force, I believe, with an incendiary device, and burnt out the town. It was murder. It was genocide. We have to estimate the numbers, and we've never been compensated for that. And what were they doing? This was all over the country. It was systematic. Not one of those black towns remained standing. It was a pogrom. And what were they doing? It ran us back into sharecropping. The sharecropping, they're taking advantage that we didn't learn to read out of slavery. We learned in those all black towns. But back in sharecropping, more swindling and stuff. It was another form of slavery. Many of us ran away from that. They had black codes and laws that were designed to keep us in bound. That's the introduction of the chain gang. That's when they started building all these prisons. That was designed for us, mainly. Then after sharecropping, we wanted to get the hell out of it. Nobody want to sharecrop anymore after being robbed. We go to the general store. That's the farmer's brother owned the general store. Did we get credit from him for some product? We don't know that math like that, and the reading, we don't know we need a contract. They would swindle us. We left that. We came after World War II. What did? We came into the cities. We had factory workers. That after World War II, all those jobs, the GI Bill didn't benefit us. We didn't get blessings from the GI Bill. They segregated us during World War II. So we came out into the cities working. The unions were formed against us because we were what? So-called cheap labor. We'd take a job. They portray us as lazy. Overall, during this time, we were the most industrious people. That's why they broke us up. So we came into the cities. Now from the cities, to destabilize there, they did what is called, now this is actually a planning term. It's actually a realtor term. They did what was called blockbusting. They took white areas right here in Long Island. Hempstead, Uniondale. And Uniondale was stark. I mean, you could just see the difference and stuff in the block. When a black person, it was called blockbusting. They would move one black person onto a street of a Caucasian neighborhood, the whole block would move. Do you know that term? There goes the neighborhood. That's where that comes from. That was us. They wouldn't even have to fill up the block to start moving out of their neighborhood. They would move another black family into the next block. That entire block would move out. You could still do that on Long Island. Nassau and Suffolk County, which is some of the most segregated places on this planet to this day. There are parts of Nassau County and Suffolk that are more segregated than South Africa. Because it's not only just regional, but it's physically. I mean, it'll be a bridge, it'll be a train track. It's really sad state of affairs that we have to change for ourselves who are being gentrified. Okay, now blockbusting, they move us into, now planners, these same planners that hijack the government are looking at the tree growth and the sidewalks. They're looking at the trees and the sidewalks to determine when to move us out of these areas. We moved into Hempstead, we moved into Roosevelt, Freeport, and we just came into Uniondale. I mean, you can bear witness. I wish some folks would chime in and bear witness to us what's been going on. We know what's been going on. And this is all around the country, but this is a microcosm for a macrocosm, which I'll show us later in the last section for the purpose of taxes. But gentrification, they move us into these areas, and there's flight. So now in the area, they don't want us to develop. They don't want us to develop generational legacies. They don't want us to be stabilized. They don't want a legacy of Junior this, the second, William this, the third. That's a strong person. You can't mishandle a person like that. You know, the early police in Hempstead back in the 70s, they dealt with people from the South. Them big families we had. We had some big families that no one messed with. It was real respect for us in the community. Those big families, those extended families we had. I experienced that as my youth, 33 East Graham, right across from Lincoln Park. I was living over there before the park was built. And that Lincoln Park became like my front yard almost, playground. Now, we moved into the areas. Now, they keep us nomadic. Gentrification, the basic aim and purpose of gentrification is to keep Black America, and poor whites too. They don't want the average lower income white being strong in this nation. Bankers, they want you weak and divided, and you know, they don't want you thinking about how you're going to improve your house. They want you to think, where am I going to live? Where am I going to work? They want us uprooted, unless you a blue blood living up in North Hills somewhere, where you passed out generational wealth. Now, we're in this area, and they determine, look, and this gentrification goes like this. Now, that was blockbusting Black on white. Now, we're in Hempstead, we're in Uniondale, we're established. Not too many generations they want us to develop. So what do? They put in the next phase of gentrification to make it uncomfortable for us to live there, to make it unbearable. How do they do that? 3 ways with Black America. One is to lower the quality of life, raise the costs of living. Now, how do they do that? How do they raise the cost of living? Which I'll show an analogy in the purpose of taxes. What they do is they give the big businesses and tax breaks. So now the working person, they gotta compensate for what the big business isn't contributing, their fair share. They're only paying a portion of taxes. They have full activity of a big business in the community that requires servicing, that need taxes for it. And if you don't pay those taxes, if the taxes aren't compensated, what do? You cut services. You got to do it. What you get in, you get out. You can't get anything more from that. So now they give tax breaks and pilots to mainly wealthy businesses. So now there's a vacuum. So now they have to raise the taxes of the common property owners. And if you own a business, you own a home, they raise your taxes. Some people in Hempstead are paying $1,000 to $2,000 a month in taxes, compensating from businesses who are paying little taxes, payment in lieu of taxes, to the benefits that we get from their promises. Like I say, promises, they go as far as the last one they've thrown at us. We don't trust it. Now, excuse me, I'm getting a little excited here. Because it's unjust. It's a wicked. Gentrification is wicked. It's designed to keep us off balance. Now, they've raised the cost of living. Now, lowering the quality of life is, they looked at, like I say, the base of those trees in the neighborhoods in front of your house, where they start ripping up the sidewalk, they start bulging out the sidewalk, and then they claim, oh wow, look, we got to chop down this tree to preserve the look of the community because the sidewalk. This was planned 20 years ago. They look at estimating when this will happen. Matter of fact, the next, most of the trees are down in Hempstead. They chopped down the last of the few ones on Main Street, right across from the courthouse. The next phase is Uniondale. Now, in Hempstead, they chop down the tree, and they don't grow a little sapling. They put up a junior tree, and they literally plant. I mean, it's wicked as hell. It's called, it's a planner's term for it. It's called scalping the neighborhood. It lowers the value. They literally, the neighborhood without trees. They literally estimate when this next tree will grow to full bloom for other residents, other influxes of other residents come in to increase the property value of the neighborhood with these full-bloom trees. Just now you look at a tree, what is its value in the neighborhood? First of all, a tree, it absorbs pollutants and it gives out oxygen. It shades your lawn where your lawn isn't scorched. The sun beating down on your lawn, you can't even water it enough. It'll scorch, dry out your lawn. And it shades your house and it beautifies the neighborhood. That increases the value. It supports wildlife, birds and everything, squirrels and everything. It makes the neighborhood look good. Look at the contrast. Look, go to Google Maps. Do it yourself. Go to Google Maps. Look at Hempstead, Garden City, and Rockville Center. And it's like when you come to Hempstead, it's like a desert. Now, that lowers the property value, and here's the significance of that. This is gentrification. They make it unbearable. And now blockbusting, let me get before the property value. Let me get to the blockbusting. How do they do that with us? Black people in Harlem, we were in Harlem. I've been up there since the late 80s. I became active in '96. I actually was in school in New York Institute of Technology in Manhattan, and I lived in Harlem for a minute to go to school out there. And I later went to York College in Queens. I lived in Queens temporarily in Rego Park in the 90s. Harlem was rough in the early 90s. My goodness, in the late 80s, early 90s, those side streets, 129th, it was rough. You know, our people were suffering. And when we are in the neighborhood and whites come in, it's nothing to us. We don't do that flat. We're not racist like that. That's the one thing. If you look at Hempstead, there are whites in Hempstead, you may not even know that. Hempstead is 6% Caucasian white. Those 250 houses behind Hilton, going up to Atlantic Avenue, to the Dunkin' Donuts on West Hempstead, the border by the David Patterson School on Fulton, all those houses, like 250 houses in the Cathedral Apartments, that's mainly Caucasian. And they're paying some of the highest taxes in Hempstead also. They don't go to our schools. They segregate. We didn't put them over there. That's not how we would never isolate anyone over there. That's how they remain. That's their thing. We have to change that relationship. And the other Caucasians in Hempstead are mainly like Hofstra students. They have that 11,000s. They have that 11550 zip code there, even though that's East Garden City, the zoning, but they take on the zip code of Hempstead. And so that's the Caucasians in the community. We have no problems with it. They over there, look, we even tolerate them until they started partying, making a ruckus. It's kind of savage what they were doing over there, man. And the neighbors hit partying, drunken, fighting, all type of madness. And that was a problem. But the other Caucasians in the neighborhood were fine. Matter of fact, we tried to move over into a couple of those areas. A lot of our people do. We're over behind the golf course, across the other side of Fulton. There's a lot of black families in those nice houses over there. Very nice neighborhood. Now, how do we get out the community? How do they gentrify the black? How do they do blockbusting with us? Mainly it's our own people. They use coded language for us. They'll say unruly people, playing loud music, disruptive people. This is the coded language we use. But we as people, when we in the apartments and somebody moves in, they're playing loud music, they're partying, fighting, they're always calling the police there, and then it's always some drama. A lot of our own people use harsher language to describe us. Say, I can't take this no more. I've personally witnessed this with a few of our folks and try to keep them there in the community, but you know, we give up a lot. So we said, what do we say? I gotta get out of here. I gotta move to a better place. So we look for a higher quality of living with a lower cost. I mean, a higher quality of life for a lower cost of living. That's natural, and it's being taken advantage of us. And gentrification is literally, that's gentrification in reverse. That's us not living in an unbearable condition, so then we leave. Now, that's literally after the exodus, after we moved out. Well, planning term is exodus. That's a planning term, exodus. That's when they're moving everyone out. Migration, that was up from the south, another planning term. Migration, how they moved us. We the only ones did that. The immigrants that come in from other countries, but migration, that was us, the Great Migration. And in the history of the country, when the Caucasians were conquering over here, and taking land with the Homestead Act, blessing it and stuff. But after the Exodus, and that's when we're weak and there's hardly anyone here defending the community, that's the final blow of gentrification when they do the new building, like they have done in Harlem and Brooklyn. There's no accident. The same investors and the same investor in Brooklyn is here in Hempstead. It's the same thing. It doesn't benefit us. It detriments us. It uproots us. It doesn't keep us sound. We don't develop. You can't pass on generational wealth if you're nomadic, moving all over the place. You're just worried about where you're going to live next, where you're going to work. That's your basic concern. And you never are really concerned about you never concern yourself. You're very apathetic. We're more in survival mode than we are about resolving our issues. Now, that's gentrification. Any more questions? All right, my brother, Kenneth Borum. No such thing as East Garden City. Hofstra's in Hempstead as always was. Thanks for clarifying that, Kenneth Borum. He said, no such thing as East Garden City. Hofstra is in Hempstead as always. Universal. That's right, my brother. But consider this. That area I spoke of, from Hofstra University to, you got to understand, from Hofstra University to Nassau Coliseum, across from Eisenhower Park, from Fulton Avenue to Merrick, go all the way up to Merrick to the Sauce Mall, up there, all the way down to Roosevelt Field. Back to Hofstra, that whole area is the hamlet of East Garden City. And within a hamlet, those hamlets, as Roosevelt Field to Roosevelt Field and Hofstra, they're in the hamlet of East Garden City. And Nassau Coliseum, the Sauce Mall, Roosevelt Field, they take on the zip codes of the towns they're next to. So Nassau Coliseum is within that hamlet of East Garden City to take on the zip code of Uniondale. Hofstra University, which is in the hamlet of East Garden City, takes on the zip code of Hempstead. Roosevelt Field, which is in East, the hamlet of East Garden City, takes on the zip code of Garden City. The Sauce Mall, which is in East, the hamlet of East Garden City, takes on the zip code of Westbury. So that's the, my brother, you are correct. It is not in East Garden City, but East Garden City is a hamlet. So they take on the zip codes of the adjoining towns. So, but you are correct. Thank you, brother. Now, that gentrification. We're not rooted. It's basically detrimental to us, and it's secret planning. You've never seen the plans for gentrification. Where? You've never seen those pogroms. It's the same forces. They occurred at the same times. And this is the legacy. This is why it's affecting us like this. It's designed to keep us off balance. And you're not rooted. You know, when you're rooted in the community, you go to Little Italy. You go to some areas where generation after generation have been there. You don't play through there. You can't just go in there. You have to respect that place. And we had towns like that. Harlem was like that. Now it's gentrified. That's the whole key to keep us off balance. We're moving out to Long Island. A lot of us from Hempstead are moving out to Suffolk, Atlanta, and Maryland. That's my stop. Now let me just sum this up because this is going on kind of too long. Let me come into the purpose of taxes. I draw this little analogy. He said all that is Uniondale. I agree. Yes, the Coliseum, and there's a Coliseum. Yes. Okay. Yeah, thank you, bro. I appreciate that. Kenneth, I appreciate your question. Excuse me. Now, the purpose of taxes. You know, taxes is to cover services in the community. Now, just imagine that we have this 100-foot by 100-foot, that's 1,000 square foot building. Simple building. It has all the main services coming into it, the basic amenities. Electric, gas, it has sewage going out. It has a handicap walk up to the front door to handle emergency vehicles. We have public safety coming to it. We have policing. And we have a micro garden on the side providing food for this 100-foot by 100-foot establishment. It's a simple building with solar panels to help with the electricity and central air inside. And we have 100 pieces of gym equipment in it. It has 100 pieces, 100 square, each 10-foot by 10-foot section has one piece of equipment. It's one person on that equipment. That's 100 pieces of equipment inside this building. 10 rows of 10 inside this building. Simple. And there's one person on each machine. Now, if we were to have this establishment, it would be brand new, it would be pleasant, everything would be going well in it. But after a while, if we're not raising taxes, what will happen? It will depreciate. Things won't be maintained, things will break, the paint will start peeling off the wall, things start fading away, the garbage won't be taken out, no one will be able to garden, you won't have supplies, it'll just go down, it'll become a zombie home. So, to maintenance, this be raised taxes. Everyone pays, let's make this hypothetical and simple, $1 a week. Each 100 people are contributing $1 a week towards maintaining the long-range sustainability of this gym. It's 100 people, 100 pieces of equipment spaced out evenly with an establishment. If everyone pays $1 a week, we pay like, $1 for the lights, we pay $1 for painting, we pay $10 for public safety, we pay $10 for emergency vehicles to come, we pay $30 for the gardener, for the food supply. You get my idea of what I'm saying. That $100 covers everything. If the wall starts falling down, we repair it. That's within the $100 budget. And without any increase in inflation, that can continue on with zero inflation rate. That will continue on $100. We'll keep that going for a very long time. Now, over time, people will pass, circumstances will change. You'll lose, like, let's keep it simple, like 20 slots. So it'll be like 80 people in this gym. Now you're getting $80 a week in income for a gym that has 80 people, but 10 or 20 are abandoned. Now it doesn't take the full one a week to cover those abandoned. Let's say it takes $10 more a week to cover those 20 units. That's so now in order to get that, either if we don't contribute $10 more, those 20 slots will become zombie slots. They become zombie homes. Blight to the community, it'll decrease the property overall. It affects everything. It has a domino effect. One thing, if we don't maintain one thing and compensate, it affects the value of everything else. You imagine that 20 slots, it's just going down, everything else look nice, but over a while that will affect everything. Like a bad apple in a barrel. Soon it'll start rotting and get the whole bunch from the inside. You're not paying attention to it. So what we have to do, we have to raise taxes. That's like 80 people would pay like 12 more cents. I think if you pay 12 more cents, it'll make up that $90 you need. You don't need the full one, like 50 cents for each of those empty slots. Now you maintain everything. It will continue on. It doesn't look nice. You have boarded up homes. At least they're maintained. It doesn't look good, but you're functioning. So now here's the problem with this huge development. They want to take up with this special machinery. Oh, it's a brand new, it's going to bless you. You're going to be so beneficial to you. It's this unique machine that takes up 3 columns and 30 slots. It's 10 pieces of equipment. This unique machine, it literally takes up, now it's 10 people, it's only 20 open slots and it's 10 people that's still left there. Now that developer has to say, look, and what they do is they've paid off officials to say, look, help us to get those 10 slots. Or if they don't pay off officials to do it, if 80 don't agree to open up 10 slots for this unique 30 piece equipment machinery that takes up all of these slots, and it's this big urban thing that reaches the ceiling inside this building, they have to declare eminent domain to take those 10 slots. So the other people agree, we give up the 10. Now the problem with coming in like that is they plan on coming in with this unique piece of equipment that takes up 30 slots, and it's going to offer all these secret benefits and stuff better than the other machines that's there. And this piece of equipment only wants to pay, these maniacs only want to pay like $5 more a week. Now it's 70 existing residents there, and this new slot is bringing 30 more people. It's 100 people now. But now we're only getting like $80-something a month, because the 70 people are now paying $112. They're raising their taxes, and they're not taxing this new development, this 30 slot contraption that's coming in. They're paying like, they want to pay, but they're taking up 30 slots. They need to be paying $30 a week to get things running smoothly again. But they're only offering 5. They said, well, let's make a deal because no one else can do it like us. We're too big to fail. And we're so big, it'd be better for you. We're only paying $5. That's what a tax credit in the pocket is. And then our future benefits from this remarkable thing, it will give you jobs. That 30 people in there, they're gonna contribute, we promise. Now, they're throwing the promises even further. We can't try. The promise is getting further away. So that's the problem with this big infrastructure and the taxation. They're only paying partial tax, and the promises that these 30 people, which the current people around our community aren't contributing anyway now. What makes you think they're going to contribute? Or their activity, their shopping, their retail, they don't do anything here now. They will not do in the future. If you want to bet on that, go ahead and live up to their promises. They will not deliver. They're saying that these benefits, it will even, and then they even lie. You know, they even, this is that incentive carrot, and this is the benefits they claim to have. Oh, the benefits will be 35. They don't prove it. They have no track record of it happening in Harlem and Brooklyn, but they bring it to us saying, oh, the benefits of these 30 people will be remarkable. We pay the $5, they have benefits without being required by law in the contract of this plan. They're going to contribute to make it 35. It'll be even more, you know, without requiring that. And that's the problem with this development. It's being done on purpose. They'll contribute maybe like 10 more. So we have like that 8 slots open. They'll contribute some. The benefits, like she said, my sister Jacqueline Kirby, she says, there's some benefits, let me show. Right, there's some benefits, yes, some benefits in the future, some, but it's not going to cover it. And in that coverage, guess who's going to pay? The other residents, because it's not required for them if they're getting tax breaks and pilots. That's payment in lieu of taxes. And that in lieu is the benefits they're supposed to be giving us, that they're promising us. And guess who's going to get a new tax bill? Look what happened in Valley Stream. They just did it. That was a shock test. Matter of fact, what they did in Valley Stream, they've been doing that to us for over 20 years. These policies, 26 policies in Hempstead, and they just keep giving them out. That's businesses who don't create, that's mainly for economic stimulation and activity and job creation. It's like a factory you're supposed to be open. If you're a factory and you're employing the local residents, that's supposed to be job creation for locals. So we give you a policy to help you out. Our businesses don't get that. Our businesses fail. We have to move. We don't get these breaks. We don't get compensation. Now the problem is in Valley Stream, that was a shock to over with us. They cooked us like a frog in cool water on the stove. They had a little simmer in there, and we the frog in the pot in the cool water with the little simmer under us. And it's been over time. We relax in there, we comfortable. Excuse me. There. We in there in the pot. Now if they slowly turn up the heat, we don't recognize it. It gets lukewarm. So now we're adjustable, you know, things are a little different, but it's not drastically different. So after a while, they turn up the heat high, gets hot, they turn up that heat, they'll cook us right in the pot. And that's what has happened. That's what has got us to this point with that groundbreaking December 13th. In Valley Stream, they took the frog and they threw it into the boiling pot of hot water and it jumped out. That's the uproar in Valley Stream, the Green Acres Mall. Absurd. It was, they gave them a pilot that literally raised, it caused a domino effect that literally raised Valley Stream residents' school taxes by hundreds of dollars. The bill that they got, I believe that was December 2006, the tax bill they got was about hundreds of dollars. And their local representatives, Carrie Salage and the mayor of Valley Stream, are championing their residents and they defending their residents. And like Manganos was there, supporting them. And they all, not Mangano, Maricos, excuse me. That's Comptroller Maricos. He's there helping the residents. We need that help also. We need to unite with them to stop this. Because specifically to Black America, it is gentrification. You know, and then people imagine that they did that, how those taxes raised, but they did it to us slowly. We have 26 pilots. That was one pilot. We have 26. We're losing over $20 million a year in tax revenue. That could be helping us out. They're helping build private institutions. Training. We need training. We need restoration. We uniquely need restoration of our mind to our soul that they have scarred us from. We need improvement. Our businesses are failing. I look at our hair, our hair salons and our barber shops, our customer service. You know, we're doing a lot of gossip in there, a lot of talking about each other, backbiting, and some of them, you know, a lot of them are closed. Why would barber shops and salons do not close? Laundromats and funeral parlors do. That's the 4 things that don't close. Funeral parlors, laundromats, hair salons, and barber shops. The only thing that closing down is mismanagement, because logistically the support is there, the market is there. Now we have to team up with Valley Stream, but I hope that gave us a picture of. Oh, he said I'm sideways. I don't know why it would be sideways on the Facebook Live. Maybe it'll go straight. Okay. Wow. Okay, thank you. Ministers Atia Ingram, thank you. Blessings. Yeah, I know the program. Maybe I have to rotate it, but it's a certain way to do that. Thank you so much. But I just wanted to give everyone an overview of what community development is, because ultimately it's us. We must develop the community. We got to do it. We got to invest in ourselves. We have to renegotiate that master development agreement. That whole plan had to be renegotiated to benefit us. We need more like a farmers market, a vendors market, a nice indoor farmers vendors market that support the community. We need to do micro farming in the community. That's very successful. All across the country, people are doing micro farming and getting a living out of it. Vending also. I used to vend at 125th Street. It's a very good profession. And basically the farming, and we can do it in the schools also. Let them learn. Entrepreneur schools, they aren't learn anything. I remember a book that said what they don't teach you at Harvard's Business School. It's even beyond that. It's in temples and synagogues, what they're teaching their youth, how to master themselves, create for themselves. We have to teach that to ourselves. We must do it. No one else will do it. Those of us who've been reaching out and doing it, we can only do so much. We got to pull it together. Get that, we need to be trained in customer service. Some people got a natural skill. Most of the most popular people you know are good at selling. They're natural salespeople. They sell themselves. They believe in themselves. They have confidence in themselves. We have to do that. Get a vendor's market. You bring in your own handcrafted soap, your own craft, your own developments, or wholesale other goods and things during the winter, but during the 3 seasons, spring, summer, fall, microfarm. People, I used to die looking for the farmers market up in Harlem back in the early 90s. I used to search for that brother Omar up there by Harlem Hospital in the Delano Village, I believe it was, on that side. I used to search for him. Farmers markets, they stuff don't go bad. The supermarket stuff go bad. Them GMOs. We need natural, well, vitamin, mineral, not enriched, grown, very well organic grown, and we can do that. Now, I've covered any more questions, I'll be glad to answer them. I don't know how much time is left here, but thank you, Isis. Thank my sister Isis, my brother Kenneth, and my sister Tia, and who else is there? Oh, I don't see anything else. I really appreciate you, and please tune in next Sunday about 5:30, and I'll be doing the week 3 of the update of the campaign. I'll post the question, I'll post the subject down underneath in the comments section. If you have any questions for next week, go ahead and ask a question, please. And please support my campaign. Give a contribution. I'll also put the link down there also. If you have a money order, check, mail it into the P.O. box, or go to my website, click on the donate and the PayPal button to give online. You can do that. I really need to spread this message, and I really need us to unify, and we'll make it happen. And I'm here to serve you, and I'm glad to. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Peace and blessings.